Okay, so I want to go over three different things that I think are really interesting about the cryptonote protocol. That I think most people that have been mining or buying or following cryptonote and Monero and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they don't know about this because I didn't even know about this until like a few months into building. It wasn't until I really got down to the code is when I realized this stuff. So I thought this is just kind of three interesting facts about the cryptonote protocol. So we're on cryptonote.org, which has a white paper about the underlying cryptonote protocol, that Monero, and of course Xcash, and all the cryptonote coins are built on. Um, so they have white paper. I've taken a look through it. For programming, it's easier for me to use these standards. So these are just little text files that go over the kind of like in a mechanical code type sense, the standards, signatures, blockchains, transactions, transaction extra field, and all that. So what's interesting is if we go to transactions, um, they basically break down. There's two sections of a transaction, and then they break down each one and what each one does for each side. So what I think is interesting about this is they devote a whole another section about um, the transaction extra field. So just one little field gets its own I don't know how many pages that is, but a few pages on it. And why I think this is interesting is because this is this is how we built the public transactions, right? Because we're storing data. Obviously, we're not going to go into that right now of how it's hashed and any of that, but we're essentially doing a bunch of stuff, but we need a place to store the data. So the transaction extra um, is basically where you can put extra data. You can put as much extra data as you want. There's a place in the code where it's limited to like I think it's limited to 1 kilobyte, and I upped it to like I think 4 kilobytes. So you can't put whatever you want into it, but you can go up to 4 kilobytes on ours. Um, so what I think is interesting about this is like not many people know you can put stuff inside transactions. Any data that's converted to hexadecimal, you can put it in blocks too. Blocks have the extra field as well, and we're using that a little bit for depops. They keep the hash, but yeah, I thought this was interesting. When I did the public transactions, there was already an attempt, at least a public attempt on Bitcoin Talk. I'm not going to mention the name of the coin, but it never really took off because they couldn't figure out how to get whatever they wanted in the transaction extra. What I find interesting about this is it tells you that you should put prefixes and then basically you can put your data. It goes over basically an example, but this example isn't really, and why I think that other coin had a hard time because this example is not accurate, so to speak. When I tried this, I got the same results, and that's how I found out about that Evercoin because I was Google searching. Um, so yeah, this took like probably a day of kind of really reading it and getting creative, if I want to say it like that, to where I figured out there's a certain combination, let's put it that way, to where you can put the stuff in the transaction extra. So, anyways, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Of course, you can take a look how we did it on the GitHub if you're interested in that, because it's the cool thing. It's all open source. Um, But yeah, so that's one thing that I find interesting that most people I don't think realize. Another thing is we've got the so we're at Xcash Core right now, the source, the famous cryptonote config, where you can change all the little values. So one thing I find interesting is that there's a thing called cryptonote default TX spendable age. So it's 10. This is because I've shot this before Depop's went mainnet. As you guys know, we're changing this to 1 because we have DBFT, and blocks can never be reorged. So when a block is mined, it's final, and that's period. So we can change this to 1. And I want to explain a little bit about this, and then you'll understand. So the reason this is 10 is because reorgs can happen. So because of the hash rate, Monero's decided that 10 is basically, 99.99 never going to happen. That there's never going to be an alt chain where two pools are finding the same block at the same time 10 times in a row. That's basically what this is all about. So because if a reorg happens deeper than 10, it could mess up, people's transactions and stuff like that. So this is why this is set to 10. Obviously, again, in ours, it's DBFT with DPoS, so it can be set to 1 because there is no chance of a reorg ever, because everybody agrees on the consensus before we actually mine the block or produce the block. What I find interesting, here's the interesting part about this. So up until Monero 0.16.0, yeah, 0.0. So very recently, a few months or something like that, this was actually a protocol. No, this was a wallet rule, not a protocol rule. You should, if you don't know what that is, you should watch the video about protocols versus wallet and hard fork versus soft fork, because that's just quick video where I explain that. But like most of us think, okay, like everything's like a protocol rule, but this one was actually a wallet rule. So basically, what that meant was you could change this, you could recompile the code, and you could change this to 1. And then your transactions, where it says like unlock balance, and you have to wait like 10 blocks for them to be synchronized. If you change it to 1, then you could just send out transactions after 1 block while everybody else is waiting for 10. And the only way it would like affect your wallet, so to speak, is if you had a reorg and you were sending it. Then your transaction, would be probably sent back to you on the memory pool and stuff like that, or get stuck. It might get stuck for 7 days in the memory pool and then come back to you. So yeah, I kind of thought that was interesting because that should have been. It's good they changed it because it's good that that's a protocol rule now, and not people can just change it, and it's better for the privacy as well if people can't change that. So that was a good thing. And then basically the last thing is what I found interesting was there's people saying, can I change these fees? Because how in Bitcoin where it's like you just set a custom fee, like it tells you a recommended fee, but you could pay like 10 cents, $1, $10, like you can do whatever you want really. So on Xcash and Monero and stuff, they have fees, if you've ever noticed, like priority settings, and those are like 1x, 4x, etc., etc. So another interesting thing is that most people just think like that that's a that's somehow like a protocol rule or something, and like the if you try to send like a I don't know like a 5x fee or something weird like that, it would get stuck. But that's actually not the case. If you look through this Reddit posting of Monero, someone asked like, can I do an arbitrary fee, or they're set in stone? So then people talk about it. Most people say, yeah, you can do it. What's interesting is if you go here, Fluffy Pony from the core team, he says it won't propagate through the network and be mined if it's below the minimum fee. So he's confirming, because this guy says, can I modify the source code and send a transaction at a really small fee? So basically what that means is, yes, you can. You can change it at any fee, as long as it's like enough. So as long as it's maybe like a 2x, a 3x, something like that, it will go through. I don't know if they've changed that. I don't think they have in the recent ones. But I thought that was interesting too, that you can. It shares a little bit of stuff with Bitcoin that most people didn't know, that you could just customize your fee, but of course you'd have to recompile it or use some kind of wallet that supported that or something. So that's it for this video. It was just about 3 interesting things about the cryptonote protocol that you probably didn't know. So thank you for watching this video.